A common mistake many people make is that they blindly follow crypto influencers on social media without understanding that they tell you guys what you want to hear. They don't tell you what you need to hear. They are optimizing for views. They tell you what gets views, right? They are not interested in telling you the truth and what the reality is. They are interested in telling you what gets views. And normally what gets views is far from what the reality is. So they tell you things like, oh, buy this altcoin, you're gonna get rich. Then they tell you like, oh, hold the altcoin, alt season is just around the corner. Oh, we all gonna get rich, wait for the alt season, wait for the alt season. So they keep repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And if you scroll through their feed, you can go through like years of history where they keep repeating the same thing. Alt season is gonna happen soon, alt season is gonna happen soon. And there was no alt season since 2021. So what if I show you a very easy and simple way for you to do your own analysis and identify when the alt season is actually going to happen and also when the alt season is going to end, so you can sell all of your bugs and not hold through the bear market? Do you want to be independent and be able to make your own decision, or do you want to depend on them and keep making mistakes? Everyone knows what's the right thing to do, so let's jump straight into the action. The method that I'm going to show you is very easy. So you go to TradingView, you open a random chart, it doesn't really matter what the chart is, then you go right here at the top left corner where the symbol is and the symbol search, you click right here, and then all you have to do is to paste or to write this yourself. Total 3 minus USDT divided by BTC. You write this down and you hit enter. That's all you have to do. Then you switch to the weekly chart right here, and that's what you're gonna see. What you hear people refer to as alt season, right? This is what you can see here. This is an alt season where basically the alts against Bitcoin are going up, right? And this is the opposite of an alt season. This is the time when you should not hold any altcoins, right? Because they're going down in BTC terms. So alt season, don't hold any altcoins. Alt season, don't hold any altcoins. You can see that this moves in cycles, right? Pump then dump, pump then dump. How to identify the best time to actually get into altcoins? Well, let me show you one very simple technique. So you go here at the beginning of this whole chart right here, and all you have to do is identify pivot points, right? So there was a downtrend right here, and this is a pivot point, an inside candle where the market turned around. So you mark this with a box, right? And then you look for the next pivot point. Where is the next pivot point? Well, this right here is the next pivot point. The market pumped and then it stopped right here and it reversed. So this inside candle right here is the next pivot point. By the way, by an inside candle, I mean candle which opens and closes within the previous candle, right? So this is not an inside candle because this candle closed above the previous candle, right? This is not an inside candle because it also closed above the previous candle. This is the first inside candle which closed within the previous candle, right? It opened right here and it closed right here. So you mark this candle because this is again the pivot point. Then all you have to do is to basically drag these boxes to the infinity, right? Because these are very important zones. So what you're gonna see is that, by the way, we didn't look into what happened in the future, right? We just marked the pivot points based on the beginning of this whole thing right here. So the beginning of the chart, we marked this level. So as you can see, by the way, this already acted as a resistance once here in 2018, and then we went all the way down to our support. Years later, in 2019, this box played a very important role, right? Because it's exactly the bottom of this whole bear market, right? That's exactly where the bottom was, and this was the best time to accumulate altcoins, because guess what happened next? Well, pump into the resistance right here. The resistance which I identified thanks to this inside candle here from January 2018. This resistance actually played a very important role in the 2021 bull market. For the altcoins is where the top was, and yes, the top wasn't exactly in the box, but of course you guys should not really rely on this solely. You can use other indicators, momentum indicators like the RSI, for example, right? So when you see that the RSI is getting overbought, well, or you see a divergence like in this case, right, a high then a lower high, while on the charts here you see a high and a higher high. This is what a divergence is, right? Lower high on the RSI, higher high on the chart. Well, it's a good time to exit the market, even though we still haven't reached the resistance, right? So good time to exit all of your altcoins and to wait for this chart to go back into the buy zone, which, by the way, starts from from the 0.33 level all the way down to the 0.25 level. And of course, it is possible for something like this to happen where we go below this zone, like in year 2020, right? This is also very possible. So starting at this level, the level that we are in right now, all the way down to like 0.25 and even lower to 0.20, if this happens even below the box, these are good levels to accumulate altcoins. It was never a good idea to accumulate altcoins anywhere here. Actually here the good idea was to sell all of your altcoins. Then when the bull market started in 2023, the only good idea was to buy and hold Bitcoin. It only becomes a good idea to get into altcoins when they reach this zone right here. You can see that this was the case in 2019, 2020, and this will very likely be the case again. Then when the altcoins pump and go into the resistance, that's the best time to exit. Is this the only way to do this analysis? Well, of course, no. You can do this in a million different ways. You can add something simple like an exponential moving average, change the setting to either the 55 or the 200 if you are looking at a lower time frame. Let me just change the style a little bit. So we're gonna make it white because I normally have my 55 EMA white. So this is another way to go about this. When you see this 55 going down and price below it, well, is this a good idea to buy and hold altcoins? No, it's not a good idea, right? It wasn't a good idea in February 2023. It wasn't a good idea in May. It wasn't a good idea in September. It was never a good idea during this time to do this. A good idea to buy and hold altcoins is when you see that this moving average actually is starting to turn around, right? And the price is actually going above it, right? And by the way, we are looking at the weekly time frame. You can go and do the same analysis on a lower time frame if you want as well, right? So let's go on the daily time frame and let's change this to like 200, and we're gonna change the color to red. I normally keep my 200 red. So when you see that this moving average is actually turning around and price is going above it, well, guess what? It might be a good idea to get into altcoins and to try to ride this. And when you see price starting to go below this, well, it's a good idea to sell everything. During these times when the moving average is going down, right, it shows a downtrend, so why getting into altcoins, right? That's not really a good idea. A good idea is if you combine this together with a momentum indicator and you find a divergence or you find something that tells you that, okay, this is gonna end eventually, right? So now is good time to start getting into altcoins because I expect for this to go up. And by the way, it's also fine to use different moving averages. It doesn't necessarily has to be the 200, right? So 55, and actually let's change the color again so we know what we are looking at. So the 55 is white. This is the 55, right? You can see that based on this is still not a good idea to enter. This moving average is going down, right? It shows that the trend is down. Price is below it, so it's not a good time to enter yet. Eventually, when you see this start turning around, right, and price starting to go above it, well, that's a good time to start getting into altcoins. So there are many different ways to do this analysis and to go about this. I suggest you to pick one, stick to it, get good with it, right? Do a lot of testing, see how it performed in the past, look at different time frames, right? Get good at it, and I can promise you that you will do way better than just following blindly these influencers who's been telling you that there is gonna be an alt season since like forever, right? If you scroll through their feeds, right, you can see that for years they keep repeating the same thing. And the reality is that, yes, it will happen eventually, but it didn't happen in 2022, it didn't happen in 2023, it didn't happen in 2024, it didn't happen in 2025. So if you've been following them for years, you've probably lost all of your money. In trading, you can't make money by following blindly people, right? You have to become independent, right? And to do your own analysis and to make your own decisions based on what you see in the markets.